Tonight on Reporting Scotland.
Fracking cannot and will not take place in Scotland.
The Scottish Government bans fracking, this controversial form of oil and gas extraction. Critics say it's short-sighted and economically damaging. Also in the programme, almost two-thirds of us are overweight, according to the latest health survey. We ask one successful slimmer how she managed to turn her life around. This couple were killed in their Dundee home by a man fighting deportation back to Poland. The emergency services take part in a 3-day major counter-terrorism exercise. And on their way to the Gold Coast, the first athletes chosen to represent Team Scotland at the Commonwealth Games next year. Good evening. Fracking is to be banned in Scotland. Making the announcement to Parliament, the Energy Minister said unconventional oil and gas extraction cannot and will not take place. The decision has delighted environmental campaigners and dismayed those seeking to develop the shale gas industry. Here's our political correspondent, Glenn Campbell.
Fracking oil and gas is already a big onshore business in the United States. They drill down into shale rock and break it apart with a high-pressure jet of water, releasing hydrocarbons. It's a controversial technique, and Scottish ministers have now decided the temporary ban here should continue indefinitely.
Balancing the interests of the environment, our economy, public health and public opinion, I can confirm that the conclusion of the Scottish Government is that we will not support the development of unconventional oil and gas in Scotland.
Those who oppose fracking on environmental grounds welcome the decision.
A ban on fracking is a really good thing because the fracking industry, where it is more developed, such as in the US, has been linked to all kinds of public health impacts and all kinds of terrible impacts on the environment. Additionally, we're really concerned about the climate impacts of opening up a new frontier of fossil fuels.
But the owners of Scotland's oil refinery, who've been trying to develop a fracking industry here, are bitterly disappointed.
We need natural gas, that was acknowledged in the statement, but we're not going to take it from beneath our feet. We're not going to seize the jobs that come with that. We're not going to take the opportunity to explore the science and the value of understanding that science.
Banning fracking in Scotland doesn't mean that fracked gas will not be used here. In fact, the Grangemouth petrochemicals plant has a 15-year deal with American shale gas suppliers to ship huge quantities across the Atlantic. The first shipment arrived a year ago, and there will be many more to come, because fracking gas in Scotland is now effectively banned.
Well, Glenn joins us now from Holyrood. You say effectively banned, Glenn. What is the next step in this process?
Well, MSPs will get a chance to have their say in a vote after Holyrood's October break. But to be honest, Jackie, that's a formality because we know that there is a substantial majority in the Scottish Parliament for a ban. Only the Conservatives are against, arguing that we may be missing an opportunity to develop a new onshore energy industry at a time when offshore oil and gas is in decline. On the other side of the argument, Labour will continue to push the government to go further and not just to effectively ban fracking using its planning powers, but to pass a law making clear that fracking is banned. One other thought: any decision by the Scottish Government is open to legal challenge. Tonight, my sense is that INEOS, for them, that is not the focus of their activities. But if they did decide to go down that route, the Scottish Government is confident that its decision is based on evidence and could be defended in court.
Glenn, thank you very much. Scotland got the results of its annual health check today. It found that just under two-thirds of us are overweight, including almost 30% who are obese. Despite many public education campaigns, we don't seem to be getting any slimmer. Aileen Clark reports.
Andrea Waugh is a law student, and to see her today, you wouldn't realise that weight was a problem throughout her early life.
Growing up for the majority of my life, not feeling very confident, always being bullied as a child at primary school. My father was diagnosed with diabetes type 2. And when I seen what that put him through and my family through, I thought, no, that's not going to happen to me. I need to do something about this. And I decided to change.
Helped by a Scottish Slimmers class, Andrea saw her dress size drop dramatically. With 2/3 of Scots overweight, she says more practical support is key.
We support people that have kind of smoking with patches and whatnot, and there seems to be very little support for people that are obese.
There are really positive, good lessons to be learned from the approach that we took as a country around smoking, and that we had big, bold, decisive actions there that have eventually led us to seeing the decline in smoking that we see across the country. So we need to replicate some of that, be evidence-driven in our approach to diet and obesity.
Today's health survey suggests Scots' daily consumption of fruit and veg has dropped to the lowest in 8 years, at just a fraction over 3 pieces a day. This advocate for exercise says if GPs put moving more before healthy eating messages, it might just spark a change.
It's a short message. Try to walk 10 to 15 minutes every other day until you get a little bit more able. Now, when people get that feeling of success and feel themselves being more active, and let's not forget that once round the block can actually make your mood improve, they may well start paying attention to the other parts of their life that are less than healthy.
3/4 of Scottish children are embracing the exercise idea, but 1/4 are still being left behind. Making sure children all see the benefits of active fun, fruit and fibre will be part of the Scottish Government strategy, as strategy experts will want to see well underway before obesity levels get the chance to rise further. Aileen Clark, reporting Scotland.
Police investigating the disappearance of missing airman Corey McCaig are to resume a search of a landfill site. A Polish man fighting deportation has been jailed for life for murdering a couple in their home in Dundee. Plans for a shake-up in the way schools are governed have taken a step forward. The Scottish Government says it's reached a deal with local authorities and that new regional bodies charged with helping schools do better should be up and running within months. Well, for more now, I'm joined by our education correspondent, Jamie McIver. Jamie, the new bodies are called Improvement Collaboratives. What are they and what powers will they have?
Well, Jackie, these are the bodies which had originally been described as regional boards, and the role itself is straightforward enough. They'll work across council boundaries to support schools and head teachers as they try to drive up standards. It's all about sharing good practice. Now, at the centre of the government's plans to change school governance is the aim of trying to give schools and head teachers as much power as possible, and it wants the collaboratives to help support them. But it's significant, I would say, that things are now moving as fast as they are, because some in councils had originally been very concerned that these new bodies would centralise power, and a big row had loomed. But the deal which John Swinney told Parliament about today certainly seems to have seen off that threat. So here's what we know. There will be 6 of these regional bodies, and they should be up and running by the end of the year. Councils and the national body Education Scotland will work together on all this. Each of the 6 bodies should have their plans in place within the next few months. And it's a big development, but it's certainly not as radical a change as some councils had thought it might be. As one person in local government put it to me, these bodies could well help schools, but councils, in his view, won't be losing any sovereignty now.
Thank you very much, Jamie. An exercise designed to ensure that Scotland's response to a major terrorist attack is as effective as anywhere in the UK got underway this morning. Downing Street has offered the Scottish Government face-to-face talks between Theresa May and Nicola Sturgeon to try and break the deadlock on Brexit. The two administrations have serious differences on how a post-Brexit Britain should look once powers come back from Brussels. Well, our political correspondent, David Porter, joins us now from the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. David, I used the word deadlock. From that, we can presume the talks are not going to be easy.
Yeah, Jackie, I think that is a fairly accurate assessment. There are fundamental differences between the UK and the Scottish governments on what the post-Brexit landscape should look like. And a lot of it is to do with the powers that will come back once Brexit comes into force from Brussels. The UK government says the powers should go from Brussels to Westminster. Then it will be decided if areas like fishing and agriculture should be devolved to Holyrood. The Scottish government says actually no, it shouldn't be like that. The powers should go from Brussels to Holyrood. And they've accused UK ministers of wanting to mount a power grab. What we are going to see in these talks, which will take place, I think, probably within the next month or so, is the two leaders of the two governments getting together to try and end this logjam. The Scottish government say they welcome the fact that Theresa May and Nicola Sturgeon will be meeting, but they say it would be wrong to underestimate the serious difficulties there are between the two governments on the Brexit subject.
David Porter in Manchester, thank you. The boss of Airbus has flown into a helicopter exhibition in London in a Super Puma. Police Scotland say behaviour at football matches has improved since the introduction of a controversial bill aimed at tackling offensive behaviour. The assertion came in evidence to a parliamentary committee that's considering a bill aimed at repealing the Act. Here's our senior football reporter, Chris McLaughlin.
The bill was introduced by the SNP in the hope of tackling hate crime in Scotland, and particular sectarianism. But it's been beset with problems and now Labour want it repealed. Today at Holyrood, evidence and examples of why people at football have been arrested.
Displaying pro-IRA banners, for example. We have arrested a number of people, for singing, for example, the Billy Boys with the add-on and that about being up to your knees in Fenian blood, which is offensive and would likely incite public disorder.
In terms of the figures, the latest we have show that in the last year, 377 people were charged under the bill. Of that number, 196 people went to court, leading to the convictions of 145. But some fans groups say it victimises them and football. The accusation being that enforcing it is over the top.
Fans often feel, I think, at this point, intimidated from the second that they get off the bus to the second they get back on it. They're subject to the type of surveillance that just didn't exist, that they just didn't have to experience pre-2012. And I think that it's correct that there is now a suspicion between fans and police.
More evidence is due to be given before a vote is taken at Holyrood. That's expected by the end of January next year. Chris McLaughlin, reporting Scotland.
It's been a bumper summer season for many of Scotland's tourist businesses, and the majority are feeling pretty confident about the future. The player, who as a boy was told he wasn't tall enough to be a footballer, says he can't wait to line up for Scotland again at Hampden this week. Now he's finished. Now, there were some other athletes with a goal. And that is Reporting Scotland this Tuesday evening. Our next main bulletin is just after the 10 o'clock news.